Hi, I'd like to just run through the phase-in period for parent verification as set by the National Executive for the upcoming few years. Now, as you know, we've introduced genomic testing for registered animals, and that's to cover our legal liabilities as much as anything else, and to maintain the purity of the red poll herd, and to make sure animals are what people say they are. Mistakes can happen, as we know, and it's much better to be certain about this before someone leaves themselves open to legal liability and so forth. On top of that, it's much better for our breeding programs into the future because we'll know exactly what's on. I know there are other breeds who've done some retrospective work on their pedigrees, and in some cases up to 7% of the animals in there have been incorrectly bred according to what's recorded on the pedigree. I don't expect red polls anywhere near that, but even so, that's an unacceptably high level of error. Okay, because we're doing genomics like this, we can't introduce it immediately. It takes time to get sires done, dams done, calves done. There is the question of AI sires and semen from the past and embryos and so forth. So we've had to come up with a sort of an introductory period to allow people to record animals before they become registered. And we are particularly concerned not to disadvantage anyone in this particular time because, for example, you need to have a registered animal to show it at the RAS shows. And so we're making sure that no one will be disadvantaged over this coming time. The sort of sunset clause is that'll all sort of run out by 2027, and animals then by then will need to be genomic tested. So the first thing to notice here, I've just got these three columns. The financial year of the animal's birth. So it's the calf birth date we're discussing here, or animal's birth date. Number of parents on file, and so they're the parents that have been genomically tested prior to the animal itself that's in question. And the requirement to move from recorded to registered. Now, recorded, your membership fee alone allows you to record animals in the database, and they will be marked as recorded. At some point in future, or immediately, you may wish to move them to registered. They won't be registered until genomic testing is underway in accordance with this timeline. And I've got note provisions below. Down the bottom there's a couple of dot points. So obviously it's also dependent on the fees being paid and the other rules that are in existence for the Red Poll Society. And secondly, the National Executive might consider applications for full registration in exceptional circumstances if there are reasons why a genomic sample hasn't or can't be undertaken at some stage because of, animal's death or whatever it may be. We don't know what those circumstances are, but we've just given ourselves a bit of room there so that people aren't disadvantaged. And if there's some reason it can't be done, but the animal still wants to be registered or the people want them to be registered, they can do so. So for 23 to 24, so that's a financial year, so up to 30th of 6, which is pretty much now. I'm recording this on the 27th of June 24. All animals previously registered remain registered. So that's as you would expect. Yeah, if they're in the database and they're registered, that's how it stays. You may choose to record previously unregistered calves from recent past years if you wish. So if you had steers or heifer culls or something. And the reason that you would like to do this is that when we're measuring the data in the future in particular, the measurement of the cow's fertility and productivity is going to be dependent on the accurate recording of all the calves that she's had during her lifetime, not just the ones that you've gone on to register. So you don't want to be disadvantaged by making it look like your cow's only had, 5 calves out of the last 10 years, if in fact she's had 9 calves in the last 10 years. So it is good to backfill that where you can, if you've still got the records and so on. Next year, so July the 1st, 2024 on to 25. Again, you still don't necessarily need a parent on file yet, and you will record them in the database and you may register them. But the rule now will be for this year is that you have to collect and submit tissue samples for that animal to our preferred provider, which is Diversity Arrays or DART. So they will be considered registered for the purpose of entry to a show or transfer to an And when we get those results back, you'll get all sorts of genomic information, but you won't get parent verification because the parents may not have been submitted at this point. And again, this is why we're doing the phase-in. So after 25, so 1st of July 25, one parent will be required to be registered. So you may, be tested. You may do that prior, so this year, next year, or you may do it at the same time as you collect the sample from that animal. So, for example, a calf born after the 1st of July 2025, for it to become registered, you'll have to have submitted a tissue sample for that animal and either its dam or its sire. Now, we've gone either dam or sire because one parent will be sufficient, and it's up to individuals how they would like to do this. Some people would want to do the sires, some would want to do the dams, some would want to do a mix, so that you can spread your costs out over a couple of years and so forth. So really it's important that you get the choice of those things where at all possible. And then after 26, animals will have to be recorded in the system by members and then submit tissue samples to DART for that animal and for both parents to become fully registered. So this means that if you want next year's size in your mating program, then you should start testing them as soon as possible, which is the best practice guide, which is in the discussion in another video. So I hope that makes sense to you. We're still refining the actual wording of this, but I think it's pretty close to being right to go. So I hope that's really helpful, but the important message takeaway is that people won't be disadvantaged over the coming few years, just to give everyone time to get sires and dams and animals genomically tested so that they can become fully registered. And that way, they'll still be recorded, of course, but you can get them registered. And then you'll be able to use them in shows and for sale and so forth. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Thanks.